Hey there, welcome back. It's Shireen. We're still working on sort of Adobe Illustrator, moving on from beginner level and really concentrating now on Adobe Illustrator for fashion-related tasks. And today's task, we're going to be beginning our series on surface design. And we're starting with what I think are sort of the most sort of easy way to ease into creating patterns, which is stripes and plaids. For today's demo and when I generally usually get started, I like to make sure I'm just kind of creating first my stripe or my plaid in grayscale so that I'm really just focusing mostly on the rhythm, the pattern, the harmony of the stripe itself rather than being caught up in the color. I'm going to be able to always color that up later once I have my color palette and my color schemes. So for right now, as long as I've got some grays, I'm going to get rid of my stroke because I really just want to be using my rectangle tool to create my stripes with a fill. So let's get started. I like to have my ruler open, you see, because it's also sort of giving me some sort of a sense of sort of how big I'm making these stripes. So let's say that's my first stripe. I've got my bounding box on and visible. If you don't, you should check under View and make sure that you have Show Bounding Box. In this case, it's showing, so it's asking if I want to hide it, which I don't, because I need that bounding box. This technique I've developed over the years, I think, makes really easy work of this. So what we're going to do is with our bounding box showing, we're going to do Command C and then Command F. Command F is paste in front. We can see that it's also here, paste in front, Command F. So with that second now stripe, see, there's two stripes. So with that second stripe pasted in front, I can actually kind of just grab that handle and it looks like I'm clicking and dragging and pulling that handle away. And I actually now have my second stripe. So if I give that a different color, you can see by using that same stripe and just rearranging and pulling it off with the bounding box, one of the benefits is that now it's also still really perfectly flush top and bottom, which is what I'm going to need. I need a perfect rectangular square to be able to save this pattern. So let's do this again a few more times. Command C, Command F, and I'm going to go ahead and use the lighter color this time. Now pay attention, if I do Command C, Command F, if I'm zoomed out too far, if the bounding box isn't really clinging, I don't know if maybe it's going to be great today because I'm doing the demo, but if the bounding box is not quite where it needs to be, no, actually it's really doing great. Sometimes if it's not hugging the artwork exactly, it should be good. So if you ever see that bounding box sort of not clinging to the artwork, just zoom in a little bit more. It's just having trouble previewing. But so far it looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this with another color. Right, so that looks good. I think actually I'll go sort of a mid-tone and Command C, Command F again. I think that's a nice repeat. Okay, so really quick little easy repeat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop. And you're going to see that I have my first stripe. Check it out. Let me make a little square. So that's my swatch. I can fill it with any other color. Or, as you see, I just dragged and dropped. I could fill it with my stripe. Okay, so that's my first stripe in Illustrator. If I feel like I like that stripe, I can just continue to save it. I can name it. Maybe let me go ahead and say, well, I don't know. Maybe I think I want to add one or two more stripes. Command C, Command F. I can kind of edit it. You notice here that I'm working with the original artwork to add or edit. We're going to keep remembering that as we go forward. Command C, Command F. I'll do one more little sort of thinner stripe. Okay, I can really zoom in. I really want to try to make some nice variation. Let's see how this one looks. Pick it up, make sure you've selected it all with your black arrow, drag and drop. There's your second stripe. Let's see how this one looks in comparison to this one. There. I actually do think I like the variation on that better. So you see what I mean? This is why I like to work with grayscale, so that I'm just kind of focusing on the rhythm and the pattern itself, the repeat itself. So if this is my stripe, what I want to do now is move on to, first of all, if I choose, I could go ahead and deselect everything first. Right here, again, I can kind of look at it as list view if I want. I can double click to name, so I can call that one stripe 1. This one will be stripe 2. How's that? So I think I kind of like stripe 2, and you see it's selected. And when you look here, you see that stripe 2 is the pattern fill. Okay, so what I want to do now is create, I'm going to toggle this view back so that I can look at them as thumbnails sometimes or as stripes. or as, sorry, a list, whichever one is better for me. So when I'm working with my stripe, once I've decided I kind of like that stripe, I might want to now make a companion plaid. So if I'm going to make a companion plaid, it's really easy, and I always tell my students, just remember, you know, sort of key phrase is 50-50, and I'll tell you what that means. So working with my original stripes, not working with the pattern. The pattern is showing up that it's a pattern fill. This is just a piece of artwork, and it can be filled with anything. It happens to be filled with a pattern. This, however, is what we call the isolated repeat. This is just separate rectangles filled with color, okay? So working with my original repeat, working with my isolated repeat, we want to get used to that terminology. The first thing I'm going to do is reduce the length by 50%, because what I need is a perfect square for a stripe. It has to be a perfect square. So right now this is a long skinny rectangle. I need to make it a perfect square. So what I'm going to do is go to transform. Actually, sorry, what I said 50%. I'm going to actually just copy and paste one of those numbers so that I have everything exactly, well, yeah, 50-50. It's exactly the same, the length and the width. So the width, for example, right now is the repeat. This is the repeat width. So I'm going to copy, Command C, and I'm going to paste that, Command V. When these are the same and I hit return, now I have a perfect square. Exactly the same length, exactly the same width. So the next thing I'm going to do is, again, this is, you see, individual stripes. This is not my artwork. Once I'm going to do that, I'm going to do Command C, Command F. I'm going to rotate this by selecting Rotate and just click and drag to rotate. I'm going to hold Shift, as you see, to lock it into place. With Shift locked into place, I have one series of horizontal stripes over one series of vertical stripes. The last thing I just need to do is be able to see those stripes that are underneath. So I'm going to go under opacity and type in, what did we say? 50-50. When I type in 50, the transparency makes it look like they're sort of running through this weave, which gives that weave effect and makes it appear that you can see both threads going through the warp and the weft, the vertical and the horizontal threads. So that is a perfect square with vertical and horizontal stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the whole thing, drag and drop, and I just want to show you how great this looks. I'm using Option to duplicate, and I'm going to fill, instead of with a stripe, I'm going to fill it with that plaid, and they look great together. Okay, so this can be like a companion print. And then I'm going to continue and go on and keep making more stripes and plaids. I like to kind of just keep my original artwork off to the side. Another idea would be to create another layer. And then I like to just use my layers panel and just toggle that, click and drag, put it into its own layer, and then you can take off the visibility. It stays out of your way, but the great thing is that you still have your original artwork, because we work with our original artwork when we need to do edits or when we need to change color. Okay, so that's our demo for the day. Try getting started creating your own surface design patterns, making some stripes and plaids. Take notes, ask questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.